I basically have kind of two different forms of storytelling that I do in my job. So we do live reports. So that usually looks like breaking news. And then we also put together packages, which like similar to what you guys put together for SEVA entries that will air in our evening newscast. So even when I'm not on the clock anymore, sometimes you might see my work airing because I've worked all morning to put a story together and then it airs in the evening news. So Doug, let's show them an example of a live shot and then I'll talk about that a little bit.
If you live in the Stockton area, you've probably seen the massive plume of smoke outside your window this morning. A lot of people are coming here trying to check it out. The fire just keeps growing. When we first arrived on scene here about a half hour ago, there were two separate smoke stacks. In the past couple of minutes, those stacks have essentially merged and the fire seems to have erupted. You can see it almost pushing toward the roadway here as those flames grow orange. This stack of smoke can be seen from almost 40 miles away. We saw it as we were driving up the 99 from Modesto. Crews on scene are shooting water at this fire from every direction. We're seeing fire trucks surrounding the flames, but it just seems like their water really can't put a dent in these massive flames. There's close to a dozen fire trucks on scene just from what we've counted at this perspective, at this angle here. The street is blocked off and police are turning cars around, but it is creating sort of a backup at times because there are a lot of onlookers and people coming down this road just to take pictures. We don't know how the flames started yet, but we know fire officials plan to be here for several more hours, potentially all day, because the flames have only grown since we got on scene this morning and they still have a lot of work ahead of them. Reporting in Stockton, Olivia DeGennaro, Fox 40 News.
All right. So that's an example of, thanks. That's an example of, what we do in a breaking news situation. So in that instance, that was a couple months back. We were already down in Stockton, I believe, for a different story that morning. And then our assignment editor heard over the scanner that there was a fire. And of course, we started getting reports because there was you saw that huge stack of smoke. So my photographer and I drove out to the fire and we basically, when we got there, reported that maybe 10 minutes later. It was just instant, on the go. You got to be ready. And if you noticed, I was just describing things I was seeing because the firefighters were busy. I didn't have a lot of people on scene who were readily available for me to confirm information with. So as a reporter, it's my job to describe what we're seeing, facts that I'm seeing. So, I can talk about what the flames look like. I could talk about, as we were driving there, I noticed how far away I could see the smoke and started to kind of do just like a basic calculation of how far away people can see this smoke. Just describing what I'm seeing. Of course, I'm not making anything up. I'm just describing the facts that I am seeing and verifying with my own eyes. A lot of times on fires or crime scenes or things like that, there will be somebody called a PIO, a public information officer. So we can either call them if they're not on the scene and verify facts, or if they're on the scene, we go and interview them on the scene to make sure we have all of the accurate information and just try to get as much information as we can to report. And so you also saw that it cut to some video during that report. You might have noticed that. So again, this goes to all the different people who make this come together. It's not just me on the scene, it's my photographer as well. So he immediately, when we get there, gets out of the car, fires up what we call our live view, which uses cell service to transmit back to the station so we can go live on TV. And he just starts shooting video, right? So he's getting all those great shots because that fire was burning for a long time, but sometimes fires, we hope that they go out really quickly. So you got to get the action when you can. You've got to be ready to go. So he grabbed that video as quickly as he could. I was ready to go. I just kind of jotted down some notes and did a report, and we sent it back to we went live. And then we also sent a version back to the station that was a little bit different to air at a later time, a couple hours later. So that's an example of a live report. And sometimes in that case, if it's a big enough story or if we get really good interviews with people who are there, we'll turn that into a separate story for the evening newscast, or what we call a package. Or sometimes if there's another breaking news incident or an event we have to go to, we'll move on and just send that video back for the station to keep running it throughout the morning. So that's an example of live shots and breaking news. That's an example of going live, as we call it.